Hey, Jeff here, Hot Wrench Fabrication. Back from the Sand Sports Super Show and back in the Hot Wrench Fabrication shop. Got me another car all ready to work on. This time it's a 14 Racer. Pretty cool little car. Seems like it's kind of smallish for a four-seater, which is pretty cool. Makes it nice and nimble. He actually had car over at Shock Talk, as you can see right there, Shock Talk in Glamis. Did the suspension on this. He puts these triple springs on there. I wish I knew how to do this because my car needs it and I can't really afford it right now, but it's pretty neat. It's got a lot of droop. The front end of this thing is like super low, so I'm actually going to measure how much droop. But all this car is in for is to fix this air cleaner system. He's not real happy with the way that sits, which I agree, it's kind of ugly. And the sand, it's like a sand induction system instead of an air induction system, pointing way down there. So it's going to take a little bit of work to make it fit because the straps are in the way, and then there's also a tube back there in the way. But I'm going to kind of look at it and do a little bit of engineering on there and see if I can get that to fit a little bit better. But pretty cool car, twin turbos, got water to air intercoolers on there, so pretty neat stuff. So yeah, this one will be hopefully fairly easy. I will show you what I come up with. Thanks for joining. Okay, so as far as what he came in for, addressing this air cleaner situation here, so they put these entirely in the wrong spot. There's a little bracket up here, but it's just a bolt-on, so I can easily move that. And there's really no room in here whatsoever. It's so tight. There was a filter on here a long time ago, but it was rubbing so hard that it was actually rubbing metal off there. Plus, obviously, it was probably destroying the filters that he had on there. So, I think what I can do is, I was thinking about cutting the collector right here and just angling this down to pull this part out. But in order to get this on there kind of straight, I mean it's an inch and a half off, so I could get a little bit of real estate by cutting all that, but I don't really think it's worth it. I think I could build a pretty cool little elbow right there just out of the materials that he has. It's going to be tight and it is going to rub just a tiny bit. You can see it was ripping that before, and I'm sure it was just completely destroying the filters. That's why they put them down here, but that's horrible. So they're barely rubbing, and see, I'm tight over here on the body and I'm tight over here. I mean, they're barely going to fit, but they will be, you know, inside the edge, a little bit of an angle, so I think it'll look pretty good. So I'm going to do that, and then I have to move hold please. I'm going to move this little bracket that I think Shock Top put on there. Just bolted it on there with entirely too short of bolts, but they had that bolted on up here, and I'm going to move it up further up inside. There's another bar. I'm going to weld a mount on there, and that'll fix the strap problem. So instead of it coming over here, it'll kind of be actually a little bit nicer and a little bit straighter up and down. I'll fix that, and I found this belt just about ready to rub right here. Can't even fit your finger in there. So it's actually rubbing right now on this hose clamp. But these belt tensioners are absolutely terrible. You can see, I mean, it's moving like crazy, and when that moves back, you know, it gets closer to that belt. So I put a manual tensioner on there that kind of pulls it back a little bit further and probably get a longer belt. I'll see how this belt fits because it looks like it's still pretty good, but moves it further back and just gives more room in there. That's bad. I'll fix that. I got a new one coming. And then got a little heim joint action over here. Most of the front end is pretty tight, but this, it's hard to see it, but you can probably hear it clunking. So that one's got pretty significant little amount of play. So hard to pick it up on a video. These have a tiny bit of play. But if I'm doing them, might as well do all of them. So they all have just a little play. And the rest of these ones are all pretty good shape. These ones up here in good shape. I haven't pulled the hood yet, which I probably should, and see if my 100% score on wiring, although this wiring looks like it's pretty good. It's tied up all nice. So we'll see. And then I had to drill one of the heims out, or the Zeus clips. This one was broke and the heim was in there all jacked up, so I had to drill that out to get it out. But no problem. So I'm going to work on this part next, which I think should be pretty easy. I already have the elbow. I may have to pie cut this, make it a little bit tighter, and then weld it. But I don't know, we'll see. All right, so this is what I came up with. I took one of the 4-inch slices off of the original tube, cut them all up, put a little slash in there, so that will go on here, hither, just to make it a little bit longer. And then I filled in the gap with, oh, I don't have it here, it's over there. So filling in the gap and welded that up. So that turned into this. All right, so had to kind of grind it down so it all fits. And then I took just a little bit of the elbow from the original, which is this piece right here. So slice that, got just a tiny bit of the elbow. And then I'm gonna have to TIG weld this all around. But this fits nice and snug. And I'll probably just put some silicone around that whole thing. Cut a couple little slices in there, and then use a real nice clamp that down. Maybe tight. And then this literally goes right on there. So actually fits pretty good, and I could turn this, clock it, and it barely hits the tube in the back, and then it's going to be, right on the edge of that, and pretty much sets inside the panel, so the tire shouldn't get up into it. So that'll look pretty good. And that's literally the only place I could put that. There's just not enough room in here unless I completely redesign the headers, pull all that out. So that's what we're gonna get. So I think it looks pretty good. Definitely looks better than this side hanging way down. That's just weird. That's got to get really close to the arms coming up, and then just sand that kicks up is gonna, that'll be better definitely than that. So that's where we're at. All right, so these are all done. Well, I'm gonna coat them. I'm gonna put one slice in there, and then put these really good clamps on there. T-bolt style clamp, so that will crank it down. I really don't even need a line because they fit really good, but I'll put silicone inside here just to seal it, and then push it on a little bit more. one slice, tighten it up, bada bing, bada boom. But yeah, it's about where it's going to sit, pretty close. So just barely rubbing, not too bad, and it almost rubs on the body. So it's got to go right there. So now I'm going to put the limiting straps back up. So we had them way back here on this bar right here with these hokey clamps that he made. Actually, he didn't make this part. He bought those, but see how short the bolts are. They were barely held on. They weren't even tight. Not the greatest weld in the world. But hey, a grinder will make a good welder, right? So those were on the tube. So I'm just going to weld this one on. So it was 10 inches or 12 inches from this flat part to the top edge, and right now it's like 13 and a half or something like that. So this has to go up 1.5 inches. So I'll just figure all that out, see that where that needs to weld on there, and should be pretty good. So once again, it's showing my little magnetic chuck that I got on Amazon. This thing is so handy for doing little stuff like this, you know, so you don't grind your fingers. Just throw it on there and lock that down, and then just get your grinder and whoa! Don't hit with the edge. Actually had some burrs on the other side, so it didn't hold very good, but see how nice that is? And then release it. Flip that over. Get the mill scale off of it, and you're good to go. So it's pretty tight when they're clean and there's no crap on there. I mean, it barely moves. So such a handy little device, and then it just pops right off. Get you one, Amazon.com. All right, so this one's finished up. So I put the manual chain belt tensioner on there. Now I got a whole finger's worth of lovely clearance in there. You can see where it was rubbing. There's a little groove right there. It doesn't look like it's going all the way through, but definitely a little bit of a groove right there where it was hitting and bouncing around. So I moved the clamps out of the way. Kind of, I don't know if you can see, but there's a little black spot on there where it was rubbing on that clamp. It was rubbing on the clamp and on the hose, but got plenty of clearance now. So just for you guys know, the manual tensioners, when you hit the rev limiter, the thing actually starts to vibrate a little bit because of the rev limiter. Brrr, and this thing vibrates, and you can actually pop a belt pretty easily. So I always put the manual ones in there. So I just get this one off of Amazon. I believe it's a ICT. So pretty decent little billet unit, about $100, and comes with all the spacers and hardware and goes right on there. So that's finished. The biggest thing that it came in for was the repositioning of the air cleaners. So I made a aluminum adapter, one a little bit bigger on here to go over the turbo. I put silicone on it and then some slots and then that clamp. So that ain't going anywhere. Also put a little bead in the aluminum for the air cleaner. So it ain't going anywhere either. So that thing's on there real good. And then I had to remount straps. And you can't see that, but way up in there, there's a bracket for that. slapped a little paint on his arms that he wanted on there. Kind of a little touch up on the little spots here and there. Nice, nice. So that's all finished. And then I just put the Jaimes on here. The heim joints were a little loose. And then I had put safety wire back on the bolts. Keep his steering from moving. Nice, nice. So he had this looked at somewhere else, I guess, and they said the heims were fine. Well, heims were not fine, especially the outers. There's quite a bit of movement in there, but these things are just super, super sloppy. You shouldn't even be able to turn these by hand. So, and then, of course, I put a little anti-seize on the new ones when I put those in so they don't rust up. You can see a little bit of rust on these. They were a little bit hard to get out. But yeah, these were super loose, and the center ones were a little loose. Like I said, you shouldn't be able to spin them this easy. You could barely spin them when they're new. So these did have a little bit of play. Outers had a lot, but got that all fixed up. And that's it. Yeah, pretty nice car. Kind of cool how all these panels go on there. A little bit of a pain to work on, but this one's fiberglass, and then the ones in the back are aluminum. But no, it's turned out real nice. So he should be happy with this. So got another one. Guy's gonna have some fun in the dunes. Hopefully it stays together. All right, thanks for joining. This one's all done. I got several more to do. Got one more in the shop already, but probably won't do a video on this one. This one's kind of simple. Just a little bit of wiring job. So got to get it running for the customer, so pretty easy. But hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll bring you another one.